I sat on the floor of my parents' lavishly decorated living room, surrounded by the discarded wrapping paper of $500 espresso machines and designer handbags, and stared at the gift my sister had just handed me. A plastic grocery bag containing a moth-eaten sweater and a pair of stained sweatpants that clearly belonged to her husband's donation pile. My name is Julian, and for the last 5 years, I have played the role of the struggling artist to avoid the relentless parasitic nature of my family. In reality, I am the founder of a tech consulting firm that went public 2 years ago. I am worth roughly $15 million, but my family, my parents, my sister Sarah, and my brother Leo still think I'm living in a studio apartment eating ramen. I've kept this secret because I wanted to know if they actually loved me or if they only loved what I could provide. This Christmas, I got my answer, and it was uglier than the used clothes they shoved into my hands. The day had started with Sarah bragging about the new Tesla her husband had surprised her with, a car I knew for a fact was bought with a loan she's currently defaulting on. My brother Leo was flaunting a new Rolex, mocking me for my sensible 10-year-old sedan parked in the driveway. They treated me like a second-class citizen, a charity case that they only invited because Mom insisted on the optics. When it came time to exchange gifts, the density of the disrespect became unbearable. I watched my parents open the high-end tablets and jewelry that I had secretly arranged to be sent to them through anonymous holiday grants because I knew they were struggling with their mortgage. They thought they were winning some cosmic lottery. Then Sarah handed me my gift. She didn't even wrap it. She just slid a crumpled Target bag across the rug with a smirk. "I know things are tight for you, Jules," she said, her voice dripping with that fake condescending pity. "These were just sitting in Mark's trunk. They're still perfectly good if you don't mind the small bleach stain on the collar." I pulled out the sweater. It smelled like damp basement and old gym socks. It was a size too small and had a hole in the elbow. I looked at my mother, expecting her to say something about the blatant insult, but she just nodded. "It's practical, Julian. You always were so difficult to buy for since you don't have any hobbies that we can understand." I felt a cold, forensic clarity wash over me. I wasn't hurt. I was finished. I realized that my family didn't just think I was poor, they thought I was beneath the dignity of a new $20 shirt. They were perfectly happy to take anonymous luxury gifts while treating their own son like a garbage disposal for their unwanted rags. The evil ingredient in this holiday recipe wasn't the clothes. It was the sheer, calculated joy they seemed to take in reminding me where they thought I stood on the totem pole. I looked at the donation pile they'd gifted me and then looked at the legal documents I had in my briefcase in the hall. The updated draft of my will that, until 10 minutes ago, left a significant portion of my estate to family trust funds for their children. I realized that by giving me their trash, they had just thrown away millions of dollars. The dinner that followed was a masterclass in gaslighting. My brother Leo spent the entire meal coaching me on how to get a real job in insurance, while my sister Sarah talked about the exclusive New Year's Eve party she was attending, a party ironically being hosted by one of my firm's biggest clients. I sat there, wearing the moth-eaten sweater because Sarah insisted I try it on, and I let the rage simmer until it turned into a hard, diamond-sharp resolve. I waited until my father stood up to give his annual toast about the importance of family and looking out for one another. He was holding a glass of the $500 vintage wine I had sent them anonymously, and I decided it was time to end the masquerade. "You're right, Dad," I said, standing up and pulling the stained sweatpants out of the plastic bag and draping them over the back of my chair. "Family is important. That's why I came here today with something a bit more substantial than used gym clothes." I walked to the hallway and grabbed my briefcase. I came back to the table and laid out 4 envelopes. Sarah laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "What's that, Jules? More of your sketches? We really don't have room for more art on the fridge." I didn't answer. I opened the first envelope and handed it to my father. It was the formal payoff notice for their home mortgage, totaling $312,000. I watched the blood drain from his face. "I was the anonymous donor for your jewelry, the wine, and the house payments this year," I said, my voice as calm as a frozen lake. "But then I got my gift. I got Mark's old stained laundry." I then turned to Sarah and Leo. I pulled out the second and third documents, the ones that detailed the $5 million trust funds I had established for their children's education and futures. "I spent the last year setting this up," I told them, as Sarah's jaw literally hit the table. "I wanted to make sure that no matter what happened to your exclusive lifestyles, your kids would be taken care of." The silence in the room was so heavy, it felt like it was crushing the Christmas tree. I watched Leo reach for his envelope, his hand shaking, his Rolex glinting in the light. But before his fingers could touch the paper, I pulled it back. I reached for my lighter, the one I use for my cigars, and I held the corner of the trust fund documents over my empty dinner plate. "But then I realized something," I continued, looking directly into Sarah's terrified eyes. "You don't value family. You value status. And since you think I'm only worth the trash in your husband's trunk, I think it's only fair that you keep that status without any help from me." I flicked the lighter. The thick legal parchment caught fire instantly, the flames dancing in the reflection of their expensive, unearned wine glasses. The screaming started the moment the first ash hit the table. Sarah lunged for the burning paper, but I moved it away, letting it turn into a blackened husk in the center of the mahogany table. My mother was wailing, calling me cruel and spiteful, while Leo was shouting about how those were his kids' futures. I didn't flinch. I watched the $5 million per sibling turn into smoke. My father was clutching the mortgage payoff notice like it was a life raft, but I reached out and took that too. "This hasn't been filed yet, Dad. I was going to do it tomorrow morning as a Christmas miracle, but I think I'll just use that money to buy another property for my firm instead." I packed my briefcase, the moth-eaten sweater still draped over the chair like a flag of my victory. "You wanted me to be the struggling artist? Fine. You got your wish. I'm struggling to find a reason to ever speak to any of you again." I walked out of that house while my sister was still trying to explain that the used clothes were just a joke and that she always knew I was successful. The backpedaling was pathetic. They didn't love me when they thought I was poor, and they didn't deserve me now that they knew I was rich. I drove back to my penthouse in the city, the lights of the skyline reflecting in my rearview mirror, and I felt a sense of peace that no amount of money could buy. I called my lawyer on Christmas night and gave him one instruction: remove every single person with my last name from my will. All of it goes to the local animal shelters and arts programs. I want my estate to be as empty as their hearts. It's been 3 days now, and the voicemails are endless. They range from "we're so sorry" to "you're a monster for taking money away from children." They don't understand that I didn't take it away. Their own arrogance and cruelty did. I'm spending New Year's Eve on a private island with people who don't know my bank balance and don't care. I realized that the best gift I ever got wasn't the millions I made. It was the bag of used clothes that finally showed me the truth. So, what do you think? Was I too petty for burning the trust fund papers in front of them? Or did they earn that fire the second they handed me a bag of rags? If your family treated you like a second-class citizen while you were secretly supporting them, would you give them a second chance or cut them out of your will forever? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button for more secret millionaire revenge, and make sure to subscribe for more daily Reddit drama. See you in the next one.